Hello everyone and welcome back to Lucky Loaders 15, where I'll be giving you 4 of my best tips for tomorrow's racing. Now before we get stuck into that, just a couple of things first. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you hit the subscribe button here to my YouTube channel, and also as well, if you're enjoying these videos, please remember to give us a thumbs up. I really appreciate all the support you give me. And also as well, before I get in those tips tomorrow, I quickly just want to run through on how our selections performed today. In the end, it was an absolutely abysmal day as nothing went right for us, unlike the recent days at Cheltenham where we had some successes on the Friday and also as well on the Saturday. But today at Cheltenham it wasn't to be. Discorama was our first tip of the day. The next best was very well fancied in the market despite a couple of non-runners. You know, the money kept coming for him, and in the end, not sure really what went wrong for him. He seems to travel quite well for a long way. He was maybe a little bit keen early, but I think maybe looking at it now with a bit of hindsight, probably the small field didn't help him, and the tactical affair of Yala Yankee kind of setting a slow pace. You know, they didn't really go hard, you know, setting it to be a real test of stamina. Even though he has got lots of stamina, Discorama, it just didn't work out for him the way he probably would have liked. If you look at some of his best runs, he's come off a strong pace, and that probably, even though it was today, probably you could argue his finest hour yet to try and win a race. It just didn't suit him, the nature of it. And I would probably put a line through that. And if he turns up again at the festival next year in a race like the Ultima, I still think he is one you would want to keep on side. So Discorama wasn't his day today, but I can forgive him that run. Then our Nap Defi de Soy, yeah, I wasn't the only one that was fancying him. We put him up at 2-1 last night, and yet despite a non-runner or two, Rouge Vif and Forest Behan, you know, he still continued to be well supported in the market, and really not sure what to make of his run really. He came out of the race okay. He got pulled up with a couple of fences left to go, and despite making a mistake at the first, he did seem, after that, he picked up a little bit, you know, and his jumping was slightly better, you know, and he still looked at a couple of stages in the race full of running. But then when Duke de Ginevra started coming back to them, he just wasn't picking up at all, and then he kind of hit a flat spot and hit a wall, and then in the end you could tell it was game over. And I just think Put the Kettle On, who won that race today, just the fact that she is a gritty and game horse is why she won that race. If she turned up in a champion chase, I'm not sure if I would probably want to side with her, you know, but you can't take anything away from the mare, you know. She's a top performer, especially at Cheltenham. She always runs a solid race, but for champion chase credentials later on down the line, probably not a horse that's going to be ticking my boxes to win that race, unless it's a really weak renewal. So yeah, Put the Kettle On, worthy winner, but our Nap Defi de Soy, a lot of question marks still with him. Does he step up and trip next time? Maybe that's definitely an option for him. Maybe they should maybe look at going 2.5 next time and seeing how he performs then. But yeah, very disappointing there with Defi de Soy. And then our long shot of the day was the Psycho. Again, there was a bit of money round for him. He thought the testing ground was really going to help him. In the end, he just didn't seem to pick up. Maybe he was just the 4-year-old, you know, struggling on their second season. However, from what he showed at Chepstow, he showed that he probably had quite a bit of ability still. And last season, he showed some of his best form in testing ground. So, yeah, not really sure what to think of that performance today. And then to round things off, our extra tip of the day was West Street at Fontwell in the Southern National, who unseated Brendan Powell after a few fences. So, yeah, a completely contrasting day today compared to what we've had in some of the recent times. You know, ever since Wednesday, it seemed like we turned a bit of a corner with a 14-1 winner. Some good results on Friday and also as well on Saturday. But yeah, we hit the brick wall today. But it's going to happen, you know. You have your ups and downs. You can't have profit every day. But hopefully it's just a blip and we can be back amongst the winners tomorrow. So let's get into the tips for tomorrow's racing. 4 tips where we're going to be focusing on the jump racing at Leicester and at Plumpton. And for the first tip of the day, we go with My Nap, which runs in the 12:30 at Leicester with a horse called Falberto. For Jordan Naylor, Claimant 5, riding for Sam Thomas. You can currently back this horse with Bet365 at the time of recording. Best price available, currently 9-4. And now this Falberto is trained, like I said, by Sam Thomas. And Sam Thomas must be one of the most informed trainers in the country at the moment. He's operating a 55% strike rate. He's had 5 winners from his last 9 runners, so the yard are in cracking form. And I think the ones that haven't been winning have still been making the frame. So he's a trainer to follow at the moment. But this Falberto, he's going to be running in a selling race tomorrow, and I think he's got a fair chance in this race. Now, yes, you have to forgive him some of his recent efforts, but this isn't a particularly strong race at all. And his main market rival is the current favourite, Paracolour, for David Pipe. But with the rain we've had in the UK the last few days, it's meant that in many parts of the country, the ground's starting to get really tested, and it's going to be riding on the soft side. And it will be riding on the soft side, no doubt about that, at Leicester tomorrow. And I just think that won't suit Paracolour. He has shown a little bit of form with a bit of cut in the ground, but I still think he would probably prefer a decent surface. And this Falberto has, he's got to prove a few pointers. However, he's shown some of his best form on a testing surface, including a second place effort a couple of seasons ago behind Beaufort West. So he's got some fair form in the book. And also as well, some of his more recent starts have been over 2.5 miles, and dropping back down to 2 miles tomorrow might just see him in a bit of a better light. He might have been running a wrong trip, and also as well probably hasn't had his ground, and I just think he's got those things in his favour tomorrow. And this week looks a really weak selling race. For me, I don't fancy Paracolour at all, and I think at 9-4 Falberto is a really good alternative. Also as well, Jordan Naylor is a positive jockey booking, very promising conditional jockey, been riding quite a few winners of late, and I just think there's a lot to like about this horse's chances tomorrow. And I wouldn't be at all, actually, come post time tomorrow, Falberto is actually a favourite instead of Paracolour. I could see Paracolour drifting slightly in the betting. So that's going to be the first tip of the day. Not an original exciting selection to get one excited for, but still nonetheless, Falberto, I think he does represent some value there at 9-4. We then go to Leicester for the 1 o'clock. Again, looks quite an interesting handicap hurdle on paper, but I thought Henri Le Bon for Richard Patrick, claiming 3, riding for Kerry Lee, could be the way to play here. This is going to be one of my extra tips, or my only extra tip tomorrow, I should say. Currently back at 11-1, and I'm going to recommend an each way selection here. Now, despite being a maiden, he seemed to really start to get the hang of things in his last couple of starts last season. He had a 3rd place effort at Wetherby behind Stimulation Song and Adichie for John Joe O'Neill, and both horses have won today. Stimulation Song, you might remember, won at the weekend to beat our selection, What's Up With You, in the dying strides at Cheltenham. So yeah, painful memories there. And then he went on this horse to Carlisle to finish in a credible 2nd place in testing ground. So that's another tick there, be able to handle in the testing ground tomorrow. And if you look at the form of that race in more detail, okay, the winner from James Hewitt's yard didn't go on to achieve much, but however, the 3rd and the 4th place horses have both come out and won since, so that doesn't look a bad level of form. And 114, in my opinion, looks a very workable mark tomorrow, and with a £3 as well being taken off by Richard Patrick, that's going to help. Kerry Lee's horses are running well. She had a nice winner at Cheltenham the other day with Storm Patrol. Town Parks won as well last week for her at Hereford. So horses from a small stable been running well. She's operating at a 25% strike rate, and I can see no reason why Henri Le Bon might run a decent race tomorrow at a fairly biggish price, and I think he's on a workable mark for his handicap debut. So Henri Le Bon is going to be my extra tip of the day. We then go to Plumpton for the Longshot, which runs in the 250 with Trans Express for Lucy and Sue Gardner. Currently back this horse at 16-1, and I'm going to recommend an each way selection here with Skybet, who offer him 4 places on this race. Now, you might remember last week we actually had a winner with this combination at Exeter when they were my long shot of the day with an horse called Impressive Lady for Lucy and Sue Gardner, won at Exeter at 14-1, and I think they've got a good chance with a bit of an outsider here in the betting. Now, this horse is becoming remarkably well handicapped now, down to a mark of 107, and that looks very workable. If you go back through some of his form, he was winning at Exeter, which is his favourite track. He was winning there off a mark of 117, I think was his last winning mark. So he's arguably really well handicapped now, £10 below some of his career best form. So in a race of this nature tomorrow, I think he's got a chance. Also as well, he won't mind the testing conditions at Plumpton. Currently heavy ground. He's won at Exeter before, ran respectably at Taunton last season in a better race than this in 4th place. So he's got some fair form next to his name. He might be getting on, this old boy, now 10 years old, but I didn't think this was a particularly strong race. And even though there might be 1 or 2 course specialists in here, I didn't think there was anything really that looked ahead of its handicap mark. Most of these are exposed, or not that particularly well handicapped, where I think Trans Express might have a little bit of room to manoeuvre from his mark. and if he runs like he did at Wincanton last time, where he ran well for a long way, I think he has a chance of making the frame at a massive price in this race. So I think at 16 to 1 tomorrow, Trans Express, he's going to be my long shot of the day. Fingers crossed, hoping for a good run from him there. We then end with my next best, which runs in the 320, the next race there at Plumpton, with a horse called Tzar de Elfe for Niall Houlihan, claiming 7, and he's riding for Richard Rowe, and both teamed up, I believe, today for a winner at Fontwell, so that's good there. Now this horse, you can currently back him at 13 to 2 at the moment, and despite there only being I think 7 runners in the race and only 2 places for each way purposes, I'm going to recommend an each way selection here, because I don't think Cyclop should be that short. Yes, he was an impressive winner at Chepstow last time out, where he absolutely bolted up, and he was a well handicapped horse, and Lily Pinchon did give him a good ride. However, I just think that if you look at the whole profile of the horse, he's still going to have to convince me that he's going to be in the right mood on the day. You know, I think he was just the one to catch on the day, and I think tomorrow, carrying the penalty, he might just find it a little bit tough. It was only the other week that he was put in over fences at Chepstow. So yeah, I think the race might come a little bit too soon for him, and I would be worried slightly about the bounce back factor, because looking at some of his form, he's never followed up as far as I'm aware of after winning a race, so that would be a major concern for me. Whereas this Tzar de Elfe, he always needs a run to come back to himself, and he's had a recent outing when he finished in 8th place at Lingfield. Now, going back to Plumpton tomorrow, a track he's done really well at before in testing ground, I think it's a positive move. And like I said, with the connections having a winner today, I think this is going to help as well. Niall Houlihan is able to claim back £7, and this horse is back down now to his last winning mark of 100. He won in early December last year off a mark of 100 when putting miles clear from the rest of the field, beating Kiwi Myth that day. Got a lot of good form at the course, you know, he rarely runs a bad race, always seems to make the frame. I think 13-2 is a fairly big price tomorrow, and Cyclop is too short for me, and I wouldn't be at all surprised actually if he did drift out in the betting. I know some of you would probably want to get stuck into him or think that he's going to win this race and you wouldn't want to oppose him. However, if you look at all the other contenders, what you want to take him on with, I really couldn't find anything else apart from this Tzar de Elfe, and I think he does represent quite a bit of value. He's short with other firms. The current best price was available with Bet365, who are offering the 13-2, and yeah, with the 2 places, yeah, it's not everybody's favourite, but I do think tomorrow he's definitely, if he's not going to win, follow Cyclop home. But like I said, I think Cyclop could just be vulnerable despite Tom Simmons' yard being in good form, and he was an impressive winner at Plumpton. I'm just not sure if he's going to be able to follow up this quickly after having not a tough race by any means, but running over a really long trip and testing ground last time out so quickly. And I think he might just want a bit more time between his races, but I can see why they're taking the chance of running him again. So with all that taken into the bargain, like I said, Tzar de Elfe, I think don't discredit him tomorrow. I think he'll run a big race, and at 13-2, I think he's worth quite a bit of value there. So that's going to be the 4 tips for tomorrow. Quickly just run through them all then. In the 12:30 at Leicester, we go Falberto, 9-4 when only bet. In the 1 o'clock at Leicester, we go with Henri Le Bon, 11-1 each way. In the 2:50 at Plumpton, we go with Trans Express, 16-1 each way, 4 places. And then the last tip of the day runs in the 3:20 at Plumpton. My next best, Tzar de Elfe, 13-2 each way. So there are the 4 tips, like I said, for tomorrow's racing. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you hit the thumbs up button and give me a subscribe here to my YouTube channel. If you want to follow me on Twitter as well, you can do, where my handle is at LuckyLoader15. If you want to find out a little bit more about myself, my website is www.chrisloaderracing.co.uk. Please gamble responsibly. Hopefully we can have some winners tomorrow, and we'll be seeing you soon.